Hi, I'm Chris Rogers. I'm going to show you how to make an eye. You want to do it in the front viewport. That way the pole of the eye is facing towards you. Convert it to an editable poly. Okay. And the anatomy of the eye has a lens on the front. So first we're going to take this right here. We're going to detach that. Now exit your sub-object level, pick that, affect the pivot. You want it to be right up and down on the far edge. Now we're going to mirror this over the z-axis, it looks like. Oh, X worked. Make it a copy. Okay. Now we need to set up some materials, real basic materials. Okay, this will be the lens. Don't want it to be visible at all. But we want it to have really high specular level, real high glossiness. And then in maps you want some sort of reflection. There's nothing in our scene, so a ray trace won't do us any good. So I'm going to fake it right now and just go into the max material library and pick one of the reflection colors. Anything will do. Usually you want something with clouds and ground in it, kind of a horizon. That gives the best results. Something like that. And that's way too reflective, so we need to tone it down. Usually about 15 works pretty good. Okay, that's a lens material, so let's go ahead and assign it to selection. And say view it in viewport. First we have to have the lens selected though. That's better. Okay, this is going to be the iris. Actually, this is going to be the entire eye. Okay, we want the same parameters as this, is reflection and glossiness. Go ahead and throw on the same reflection map. And at the same level. Okay, now we're going to add the diffuse map to this. I've already made one, so I'm going to do a new bitmap. Start it on the desktop. And it's in iTutorial. This is going to be available for download for you on the internet site, xenosgames.com, in the tutorial section for the eye. Okay, now we got our materials. This goes to that sphere and to the iris. So what we want to do is let's go ahead and hide this first thing right here. Notice how we can't see our iris. That's because it's inside out. Let's apply the normal modifier to it so we can flip the normals around. Okay, now let's attach these two together and then weld the verts. Okay, notice how nothing changed. Before is 400 or 514 and after is 514. You can see where it snaps together right there. That's where we want it. If we go too far, everything will start snapping together. We don't want to go that far. Alright, now we got a single mesh. Let's go ahead and UV map the eye. So sometimes it helps. Actually, before we UV map it, let's reduce some of this detail. We don't need the back of the eye. You never see that. Unless you're going to animate the character's eyes popping out, then you don't really need it. So go ahead and delete the back of the eye. Now we want to make sure that our pivot point stays in the middle of the eye, otherwise it'll give us weird results. You don't want to affect the pivot at all. This way when we rotate the eye, it'll look like the eye is actually rotating inside of a socket. Alright, let's unhide our lens. Alright, so we got the lens in the front there, and the eye right there. Now we're ready to UV map this. Just so we don't forget later, let's go ahead and parent the lens to the eye. So you click on the lens and drag it over, and click on the eye. Now they're parented together. You can move these around, the lens sticks to it. Unfortunately you can't, well you could attach it, but you wouldn't be able to weld the vertices together. Actually attaching it to be one mesh would probably be a better solution. You can do that if you want. Okay, UV mapping. I'm going to apply a spherical UVW map first. And then an unwrap UVW map. Didn't give us the results I want. I want this pole to be in the center here. So we have to go back to the UVW map, adjust the gizmo, and if you look on here, see the green line? That's where it's going to split, and that's where the seam is going to be. Okay, that seam to be nowhere the pupil. You want the seam to be around the center or the back of the eye. Alright, let's try. All I did was rotate it so the seam ran around this edge here, if you couldn't see that. Alright, that's more like what we want. We got some weird stuff going on here, so we need to fix that. Notice how when you click on one vertice, it highlights where the connection is. If you go to Tools and Weld Target, Control to use the hotkey for it, you can grab it and drag it and drop it off. Notice how the line turns from green to white. Green means there's a seam. Alright, that's more what we want. Now we want to make sure it gets inside of the square. And we want it to fit as good as possible. So let's go ahead and widen this up. Okay. Now let's assign the eye texture to it. Hit M to bring up the material browser. That's assigned on there, so you want to go up and say show in viewport. That's what our eye is looking like so far. Just going to do a test render. Okay, there's the eye up a little bit too high there. We need to adjust that. So let's go back into Unwrap UVW and do the edit. Okay, now we can show the map in here, and we can zoom in. Okay, and you can see how we need to adjust these. Okay, notice how it's pixelated there. I'm not sure if you'll be able to see this on the recording or not because of the quality, but you can raise the size of the image there. Right now it's 256 by 256. Depending on the speed of your computer, you can jack this thing up pretty high. Okay, and this only affects it inside of the Edit UVW's modifier. Notice how that smoothed it right out. I'm not sure if you can or not, but I noticed it. When I'm doing really fine detail work, I usually jack it up to 1024 square. Okay, let's see how that did it. Looks like it's a little bit off to one side. Let's render. Okay, it was off. You couldn't see. I'm going to raise it up just a hair, scaling it. Okay. Alright, that's about where we want it right there. Okay. That's our eye color. And this picture I got right here, this is a close-up picture of my eye when I however you want. No, we're going to try to get pupil dilation in here. We're going to have to make this pupil no specularity or glossiness to it at all. So we're going to have to do some more maps. For that, let's go ahead and open up Photoshop. Okay, now I got it arranged in 2 layers here. What I want to do is take off this bottom layer. I'm going to assign a neutral gray. To the background there. We have to create a new layer first. Drag it under that one. Now it blends in a little bit better. Okay. So if we take this in there, this black area is going to provide no, we're going to use this as a map. So let's go ahead and save this out. Back to max. Okay, we're going to do this as a specular level. We're going to have to adjust it. We want a really high specular level on some parts and really low on other parts. Notice how you can use the Photoshop files directly. It's kind of a nice feature. Can't tell much difference right there, but when the light hits it right, you should be able to tell the difference. That's preventing a huge shine from being on that pupil right there and making it look a lot better. Now if you wanted to get into a lot of detail, you can throw a couple bumps on the veins there. You can make your own bump map with the image file. And this should produce a pretty good eye for you. So let's go ahead to dilate the pupils. In order to do that, we need to do a little adjustment to our UV map. Okay, the center area here, I'm going to make those the pupil. So go ahead and make it surround the pupil. Okay, that made our pupil really large. So what we want to do is curve and select the center there. Make sure you didn't select anything you didn't want selected. Okay. Okay, that's selected. Make a duplicate of this to be the morph target. If you hold shift down and drag, you can make a copy real quick. Okay, that's a really large pupil right there. You can make it even larger. It'll go to. I want to go into the polygon mode. Polygon. Still selected. Hit R to go to the side. Now you can make a really small pupil. What you want to do is pick one of them to be your main. Apply the morpher modifier. Come down here to the empty slot. Scroll down, pick object from the scene. Pick the other extreme. And now if you can see, when you adjust this weight here, the pupil dilates. Okay, you no longer you can delete it. Pupil dilates. Needing to make changes to it's actually stored all. You can come down and retrieve objects. It's in here somewhere. Anyways, it's there somewhere. We're not going to need to do that. Okay, you can wire this to any kind of gizmos and stuff like that and animate it, and it'll work good. So what you want to do is put it somewhere in the middle so you're not in an extreme. There we go. An eye with more targets, pupil sizes. Enjoy. Now we're going to use this later on, and we're going to stick this inside of the head and rig it up. So stay tuned.